Hello everyone, this is Zeeebo and welcome back to yet another Journey to Grandmaster's video. So in today's Journeys to Grandmaster's video, we're going to talk about a EX weapon priority guide where we will be breaking down the meta relevancy of the units and whether or not you should upgrade their EX weapon, and then talking about the recommended EX weapon levels itself. So first of all, just a few disclaimers before we begin the video. We will be providing a rating for the unit based on their meta relevancy to showcase how relevant they are to the different game modes, as well as the priority to upgrade the EX weapon. Secondly, we will be discussing the recommended EX weapon levels for all the units. So for the tier rating side, we have the meta and versatile tiers, which are basically tiers where units are really good across multiple different contents, and they are the highest priority in terms of EX weapon level upgrade because they are used a lot and they're used in multiple contents, which will maximize your essence resources. So meta levels are basically the best of the best, so they have the highest priority, and then versatile is just one notch below but still really good across multiple contents. And then we have the PvP and PvE centric, which are units that excels in a particular group of contents like the PvP content as well as the PvE side. So the niche units, as the name suggests, they are basically units with very niche users, which I'll just touch on briefly later. And the underused units are the units which doesn't see too much of a use in the current meta of the game itself. Lastly, for the recommended EX weapon level, a general rule of thumb would be if you use the units a lot, then the EX weapon level should be higher to max out your essence efficiency. And most weapons will work at EX weapon level 10 with a few exceptions, where if the units are really game-changing, or if the unit's EX weapon have a really game-changing ability, that's where I'll recommend EX 15. And for units which I recommend EX 8, they are basically units with the EX ability having the haste stats, which is actually required for your speed tuning or your ability tuning in the team itself. So without further ado, let us move on to the tier list portion as I break down each of the unit as well as their EX weapon levels. So this is the full tier ratings with all the units recommended EX weapon level, and due to time constraint, we'll be placing our discussion on the units with EX 15 recommendation as well as the units in the versatile as well as meta tiers. Now for the units in the PvP centric category with EX 15 right here, we have Skalita, Dino as well as Vala. So EX 15 on these units makes them a lot better as a carry. For Skalita's case, you increase the HP threshold for her to insta kill the enemy from 20% to 25%, which is a massive boost. For Dino's case, the increase in stats from the EX weapon as well as the damage output from EX 10 to EX 15 makes this unit an even better AoE damage dealer. For Vala's case, this unit is an amazing single target assassin, so the increase in movement speed as well as haste allows her to maneuver a lot more quickly on the battlefield to quickly run down the enemy, and that's why these units which are PvP centric has the recommended EX 15 should you want to dominate your competition there. So moving upwards, we have the versatile tier. So for twins Reina, Coco, Hugin and Rowan, they are generally versatile supports that can see use both for your PvE side as well as PvP side, and for their abilities, they are maximized at EX weapon level 10, and that will be more than sufficient for their day-to-day usage. For Mikola as well as Hugin, these two units, they are also insanely good for multiple different contents, but for their EX weapon level, it is recommended to be at only EX 5 because the boost that their EX weapon give from level 5 to 10 is not that massive and might not fit into their team really well. So for Mikola's case, this unit is a buffer and healer, whereas the increase in EX weapon level provides her with a little bit more DPS of her EX weapon itself, which is helpful but not fundamentally what she does. So EX 5 is more than sufficient for her. And then for Hewin's case, Hewin's EX weapon 5 provides her with the initial energy as well as quite a fair bit of damage reduction to all allies when she's casting her ultimate. So that will be more than sufficient because the increase from EX 5 to EX 10 gives her more stats as well as maybe 2% more damage reduction on all allies, which is not that impactful. So overall, the temporal essence would be better to be used on other characters which has a more impactful EX weapon ability. So that's why these two units, they are only recommended at EX 5. And moving forward, for Arden, Elsa, Lenya and Shakir, here, they're all amazing damage dealers in their own rights, and personally speaking, I would actually upgrade them to EX15 if I do have the spare temporal essence. But considering their meta level, I would say EX10 would be more than sufficient because they do get most out of their EX weapon ability at EX10. For Arden's case, a 3-second control on Entangling Vines, Elsa's case, a reduce in cooldown for your ultimate, and Lenya's case, a decent enough boost for her to snipe down single targets quickly, and for Shakir's case, a reduced energy regen to transform into the wolf form, as well as an attack buff for the tip. So you can definitely consider EX15 for these 4 carries, but EX10 is more than good enough. And for the last 4 units, Iron, Lawson, Almas, as well as Sinbad, they belong in the debuff as well as control category, and most of them get the most out of their skill at EX10, which is more than sufficient for their general usage. For Almas's case, only EX8 because this unit's EX10 gives him a little bit more damage, but it's not what he needs. EX8 is more than sufficient for the 5 haste stats for him to cycle through his skill set as well as his ultimate for control itself. So that's why I only recommend Almas at EX8. Now moving to the very last tier, we have the meta units. So these units, as you guys can see, has a lot of EX15 recommendation with some EX10s. So this is because this unit, they fulfill the 2 conditions which I mentioned, either having some game-changing EX weapon abilities or just being generally used on a day-to-day basis to warrant for that additional temporal essence investment. So that's not saying that the other meta units here, they are not worthy, but let's say if you have spare resources, all these meta units should go to EX15 to maximize their abilities because you do get a lot of value from using them on a day-to-day basis. So starting off, we have Talon. So Talon's meta for sure in the early game, as well the strongest early game damage dealer and also the best AoE damage dealer in the game, provided she's able to channel her ultimate. So increase in EX weapon from EX10 to 15 grants her an additional ability called Pyre of Renewal, which grants a revive on the ally with the buff. So this increases the survivability of the team for more reviving as well as protection on your allies, making her decently good for both your Dream Realm contents as well as your PvP contents. So this unit transits decently well into the late game, although right, she might not be the strongest in the late game, but she is still very viable across multiple different game modes, being the strongest damage dealer in the early game and also having the ability to revive multiple times, making her one of the most annoying units to deal with right now. So next one, we have Freyasto. So Freyasto's the best tank in the game right now, being able to fit into almost every team and fulfilling a wide variety of utilities for the team. So he's really tanky, does a lot of HP percentage based damage, making him one of the best units for Endless Dream Realm, and also have the ability to buff up 2 allies, giving them damage reduction as well as bonus energy regen. So this makes him really versatile, and he is definitely a unit which is used a lot and has a game-changing EX weapon ability, because at EX15 he gains the ability to re-summon the illusion if the illusion actually falls in battle. So this re-summoning can be used for multiple different purposes. So that's why this unit, very meta, very recommended to push to EX15. And then we have Hara, the best physical carry in the game right now, dealing the highest damage on the physical side if he's able to build up his stat stacking of the EX weapon. So this EX weapon level up from EX10 to 15 gives him the ability to regenerate HP after he kills an enemy. So this unit is able to build up stacks faster with the increase in stats of the EX weapon, and also have more sustain to continuously dive around to move on to the next target in battle, making this unit really powerful with that EX15 boost. So for Lily May's case, Lily May is one of the most commonly used carries in the game, being easily accessible from the seasonal store, as well as being really powerful in countering multiple archetypes in the PvP side. She is also incidentally one of the best damage dealers for Endless Dream Realm or even early game Dream Realm, making her her one of the most used units in the game. And obviously EX15 for her is going to give you a lot of value in terms of your DPS boost as well as your temporal essence investment. So after Lily May, we have Tarsi. So Tarsi's currently really good for your PvP related contents because she's in multiple meta PvP teams and there's very little answer to deal with Tarsi. And on top of her being really good for the PvP contents, you can also use her for your contents where you need her massive AoE control as well as massive AoE damage such as the AFK stages or even specific contents. So decently versatile character, really powerful for the PvP side in general. Then next one we have Odie. So Odie is the king of early game in terms of the damage potential, making him the best and cheapest carry for the Dream Realm for most people, and he is one of the unit that gets a decent boost in terms of his ability, increasing his insta-kill threshold at EX15. So this increase in insta-kill threshold allows Odie to snipe off enemies faster, warranting for the additional temporal essence. Moving to the last 4 units, we have Smokey, Damien, Sonya and Bonnie. So for them, I will talk about where they are used at and why EX10 is more than enough. So for Smokey's case, AFK stages in your Smokey teams, as well as bossing contents or even contents where you need his buff and heals together. So EX10 gives him the ability to mini stun the enemy when he's casting his 3rd ultimate for that aroma damage over time. So the additional haste as well as the additional mini stun would be sufficient for you to push through a lot of deficit stages, and that's why Smokey is good enough at EX10. Now for Damien's case, Damien's EX10 warrants for an additional haste boost on all the allies that's covered by the healing AoE, and this additional boost is particularly helpful for your burst teams in general, making Damien one of the best units that provides for the initial push for the team. So since you use Damien a lot for your AFK stage push as well as most PvP teams in general, this unit can go to EX10. Now for Sonya's case, Sonya's used a lot in your PvP teams as well as your Dream Realm teams. So for Sonya's buffing ability, she's one of the best for the Dream Realm in terms of buffing up 2 of your core units, and EX10 is more than sufficient for that additional damage reduction for you to survive better. So I don't think Sonya needs more because her role is to buff up the stats of your other allies, and the buff is based off the stats of other allies. And for Bonnie's case, currently a really hot unit in the game, like hot as in used across multiple different game modes, both for your AFK stage side with your Iron as well as Almas teams, as well as your PvP teams going into like Satrana Bonnie combos or Tarsi Bonnie combos in general, making her a very meta unit right now. So for her case, EX10 would be more than sufficient for you to spread her decays effect into 2 enemies, and that will be more than sufficient for her role. However, if you want to push her damage output even more, then EX15 is also okay because EX15 will increase the damage output from the decay switch ability as well. And that's pretty much it for this video. So this is Zeeebo signing off, and I hope this video is helpful for you guys in terms of the EX weapon priority side of things. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys again in the next Journey to Grandmasters video. Bye guys!